Our first away game back in League One ends in a draw in South London. A moment of brilliance from Knight, cancelled out by a late strike from ex-U's loanee Victor Adebayo, meant we left Hayes Lane with the spoils shared. And so this is the first pod of the season where we can ponder the age-old question. Was it a point gained or 2 dropped? Some things really do never change. Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. I'm Jules. This is Under the Abbey Stand, the review show, looking back at Saturday's draw with Bromley. I'm joined by 2 chaps who've spent the whole weekend watching sport with. Matt Castle, how are you? Sick and tired of me?
Too much. It's too much, isn't it, mate?
It's too much.
It's too much. Day 3. What should we do today?
I was going to say, go to a championship game, go watch some
Yeah.
rugby or something, just to tick them all off.
Yeah.
But it's been nice. Did you enjoy your day yesterday? First away day of the season?
Yeah. It's always nice, isn't it? It's a bit of a shame. I guess it was Bromley again, if that makes sense, having just sort of done Bromley. But yeah, it's always nice just having a away day, isn't it? Nice sunny day, few beers, and a bit of football. Like, we played pretty well in the first half, but
We did. Before we get onto the football side of things, was the low point of the day trying to get into the actual ground, because that was a bit of a long queue that we had to suffer, wasn't it? They're maybe not quite ready for the 800 travelling news fans.
bit strange, isn't it? Don't really know what was going on either. It wasn't really an obvious reason why it was so slow.
Someone said the scanners stopped working for the tickets.
Just wave people in. That's what we were saying yesterday. Just like, no one is there. No one's opportunistically down there.
Yeah,
it's like the San Siro. Do you know what I mean? Like, just in case they open the gates, get an extra 800 people running the away end.
True, Tom. Apart from the queues, how was your day yesterday?
Good. Decent, I think, overall. The queues were pretty bad. I don't really know what more to say on it. I don't know if people are looking for us to dissect what happened. Like Caspar said, don't really know. Just took ages to get in.
I think it was worth mentioning, though. It was a little bit of a farce. There were plenty of people. We got in just for kickoff, and there were plenty of people that I think didn't get into.
It's a good job. It's a good job we have what you would call a sort of nice, fairly placid, like polite fan base. Because if they pull that kind of shit, and it's your Sheffield Wednesdays or your Leicesters or whatever, it's going to be, first of all, doesn't really reflect very well on them as a club, because they do seem like reasonably well run, organised, if that makes sense. But secondly, like, could actually, around the time of kickoff, that actually could cause, a bit of a situation. It's quite a tight little entryway, isn't it? So, I mean, I think if that happens, like the Sheffield Wednesday fans, it would just lead to, like, people would just sort of like just getting in. Do you know what I mean? I think it would just sort of descend a bit. Whereas obviously our fan base, well done everyone, kind of stuck with it, I guess.
We're very polite, good queuers, very good English queuers. Go on then, let's get into the football side of things. Let's do it. For the first time this season, put your hands together, everyone, for everyone's favourite cliche to start the pod with. 1 point gained or 2 dropped? I'll start with Tom. What do you think, mate?
I don't really have an answer to that, to be honest.
For God's sake.
Brilliant.
Which is a bad start, which is obviously a really bad start. But I mean, I would say that you can basically view it in whichever way you'd like to, I think. And if you're maybe a bit more cynical and a bit more critical of things, I could very easily agree with you that we should walk out of that game having gone ahead with all 3 points. I would also have sympathy with the idea that, Bromley won League 2 last season. They finished ahead of us. They were a better side than us last season. They've done a lot of business in the summer, and they've not lost at home since they were basically like dinosaurs still roaming around on the planet. And it's, in inverted commas, a tough place to go. And therefore a point's not a bad result on the face of it. I probably lean more towards the fact that once you go ahead in a game like that, you'd want to back yourself to see it out. I just think Bromley is such a different sort of, prospect, because the way they play, the way they press you is just so intense. It's so physical. It's like all the time. It's kind of non-stop. And, to be honest, as soon as they equalise, your mind does very much go, let's just scurry out of here with our point, happy days, and move on to the next one. I think because we've not lost the game, like that, again, like you could very easily convince me there's another world where, having gone ahead, getting pegged back the last 10 minutes, we just crumble a little bit under that pressure. So I do think we deserve a bit of credit for that. But I mean, look, you go ahead in the game, you want to win that game, and we weren't able to do it. So it's disappointing. I think it highlights what actually happened during the game, and the changes that we made or were forced to make have highlighted a lot of problems or a lot of issues that aren't new and weren't unknown to us before, but they've really put in the magnifying glass that we need a pretty sizable week in the window. Otherwise, you feel like 1 to 11 or 1 to 13, maybe 14. We're pretty confident. We back the players that we've got. But if you have to go beyond that, which we are going to have to at points, we're not going to come out of games with the points we think we deserve or that we should be able to get. And that's kind of where we're at the moment. So, yeah, all things considered, like, it's one of those where I think, I'm happy enough to say, if you can't win it, then just make sure you don't lose it, and that's a positive in itself. We score obviously a brilliant goal, which we'll talk about, which is obviously a real highlight of the season already, even this early stage. But yeah, you're just tinged with the thought that if you can go away and make that 6 from 6, you go and win at a place like Bromley, without going back to it too much, it is a real platform to go and build a bit of a run on. So yeah, a shame, but it could be worse, I guess.
I'm reading that as for one side of the fence. I think you've lent towards 1 point gained. That's what I'm reading from your answer.
Yeah.
I think you've just lent there with the asterisk of everything you said. What about you, Caspel?
I think it's 2 points dropped.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm going to go for it. I'm not going to sit on the fence.
No, I'll tell you what, it's almost worth just do that argument. Like go fully in on that argument just to.
But I think it's true. I believe it. I think we were like in the first half, like substantially the better team. Like played them off the park. And it's very similar to that Wigan game. Even the trajectory of this game was somewhat similar, right? We sort of almost first hour were dominant, but especially in the first half, the crime there is not being like 2 goals ahead at half time. Like that's what, and again, this is not our aspiration, but that is what sort of playoff contending team in this division would be going to somewhere like Bromley and doing. They would put in a performance like that, and they would yield that into like a 1 or 2 or even more goal lead, and then you've earned the right, a bit like we did against Wigan. You sort of earned your way to being able to have a bit of a wobbly moment or withstand a bit of pressure because you've got a margin, you've got yourself a really good safety net. So that's the big problem for us, is that, yeah, we just didn't, it's the same thing, isn't it? I know we're going to talk about it a bit more, but it's like they're all half chances, aren't they? Like there wasn't a lot of XG for us in the first half, despite sort of dominating the game and having spent a lot of time in their final third. I think that's part of the issue. But even then, like with all that context, we eventually obviously do get the lead. And I'm sort of with Tom's point there, which is if you get the lead in that game where you know it's going to be a really sort of tight, cagey kind of game, we just need to be, when we're playing the other teams who are around us, that bottom 8 or the mini league or whatever we want to call it, we just need to be really clinical in those moments. I think it's one of those where obviously Harry, it's 4 points from 2 games. It feels great. Let's say we take no points from Huddersfield and Bradford. I don't think it feels like a point gained if we only get, do you know what I mean? If we get 1 point, let's say, from Huddersfield and Bradford the next 2, I think you're going to look back at that and think that's a missed opportunity. Just because we beat Wigan on the first day of the season doesn't mean we shouldn't think we can go and win another game. I think Wigan and Bromley will both finish in the bottom 8. I'm not saying I'll expect us to win all these games. I just think when your performance level is as high as ours was, particularly the first half, can't deserve to win the game. We should just have had more of a lead. And then when we did get a lead, I think we probably could have defended it a bit better. Obviously, losing McLaughlin had a really big impact on everything. And that's the first thing I think that's really happened this season so far, has really underlined like where we're at with this transfer window, if you know what I mean. That's the first time it's really come around to bite us, because it did just feel like, same with Wigan last week and Bromley this time, both of them had reinforcements. They had real subs they could bring on that were going to change the game and make a real impact on the game. And it just feels like we don't have a lot of that, basically.
I think that's pretty well summarised, that point of view. I mean, do you think, just to outline that like first half dominance that you mentioned there, 70% possession we had, 14 touches in their box, they had 0 in ours, 7 shots and 4 of them on target, and they only had 1 shot in the whole of the first half. It was also a bit of deja vu to the first half at Hayes Lane a few months ago, back in April, where we similarly didn't convert dominance into goals in the first half. Do you think, Caspel, is it as simple and as basic to say with a better striker, a better number 9, a better clinical touch, maybe across the attacking unit, we are 2 goals to the good? Is that the difference? Because it feels like a bit of a story now, just comparing at least the 2 Bromley games, that we've seen quite a lot with this United side.
I don't ever think it's as simple as that, unless whoever that person would be is just genuinely like championship quality or of whatever, if you know what I mean. I still think it comes slightly back to creativity. And obviously, we're looking, if you compare against last season, we're already looking plenty more creative. That attacking midfield unit is it's probably our most impressive feature at the moment. And that, even as with Stead out injured, still really happy with that department. I just don't think we're creating like great chances, if you know what I mean. I think we've created like only okay chances. They're sort of half chances, aren't they? So I don't know if a really good striker is a massive difference in that. But obviously, I'd like to test it. Please, can we go and sign one or get Gassan back fit? Obviously, there's rumours that he might be semi-fit for Tuesday, which is good. So we might see the gas man coming back for next Saturday.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, I kind of agree with you that it isn't ever really as simple as that with just one striker. But that first half, Tom, was there the good aspects of the first half? I thought one player that I kind of wanted to mention who seemed to be getting a lot of joy, and it was up close and personal to us, was Liam Bennett down that right-hand side. It seemed like they were really targeting that area of the pitch. So I thought his performance was kind of worth calling out. Him and Pelly maybe are the two to talk about, who had a really, really strong first half as well, playing slightly further forward.
Yeah, I think so. It was pretty obvious that we were looking for Bennett, trying to get him in behind, I think. There were a lot of occasions where Kel Watts would do one of those sort of raking crossfield passes. Played pretty well, to be fair, through to Bennett. I think Pelly looks much better when he's a bit higher up the pitch. I think he's a lot more effective. I think I'm not sure that was necessarily his game in the years he was at Luton. I'm not sure he was that sort of player. I don't think he played that high up, but I think for us, he looks pretty good. There are a few occasions, particularly away from home last season, where I think he played in that slightly more advanced role, and it really worked for us. And then obviously we're still talking about the positives of the first half, I guess, but you can compare that with how things change when it sit a little bit deeper in the second half, which is probably more of a reflection of how well he played in the first half, I think, than anything. It kind of underlines it a little bit. But yeah, I think what Caspel says is right about I think in the sort of last hours of any transfer window, there's always a clamour for a striker, and obviously I think we'd all like an extra forward in, but I just feel like it doesn't necessarily solve the problem. It would be good, and I think we've talked a lot about the availability of people like Lavery and Ahadme, and can Apre be the guy who can score enough goals? But for all the good work we did and all the good possession that we had, literally like around their box for pretty much the entirety of the first half, like in terms of the control on the game and the possession of football, we were totally dominant. We didn't really create anything of real clear, like a real clear cut chance.
I suppose what's the best chance we have? That Heath one over the top, who takes that touch.
Yeah, I think Heath. I think there's one where Heath plays it in, which sort of loops in. Knight can't quite make a connection.
Yeah,
with it, Then it sort of like just loops over to like towards the goalkeeper. I think that's maybe a better chance than it looked at the time. It looks. I mean, it's a really difficult one, but a player of Ben Knight's quality, you feel might back himself to do a little bit better if he had his time again. Obviously, Knight again, like just a name that's going to come up throughout throughout the next few minutes, I guess. He forces the keeper into a really good save in the first half as well, but that's a shot from like 20, 25 yards out. So yeah, I'm not saying that we weren't good in the first half, because we were, but I think it's really easy to like overplay how well we like how good what we did actually was. Like, yeah, you can have a lot of the ball, yeah, you can control the game, and yeah, you can have a lot of possession, but if you're doing niche with it, then that's a problem in itself. But yeah, like I think those two that you mentioned, Bennett and Pelly, are probably the standouts, and you feel that if for just a slightly better touch in certain moments, or just picking a different pass in others, we probably could go on and be a goal or two, or however many you want to say, ahead at half time, but we couldn't quite do it.
Yeah, on Pelly as well, just sticking on that theme for a second, because you're right about the kind of difference in his performance between the two halves. What do you put that down to? Because I saw quite a different player in the first half, the way when he's playing a bit higher up, maybe the freedom to play across the pitch, less defensive responsibilities just naturally by playing a bit higher up. Has some really nice touches, really nice little interplay moments with like Knight and McLaughlin. Do you put it down to us in a bit of chat that it might be to do with his kind of like to the physicality or his mobility or lack of it in playing a bit deeper, and he gets a bit more exposed and in those areas of the pitch, and maybe in his older age, weirdly, he's getting more suited to playing a bit further forward because of that.
Yeah, like it's normally the other way around, isn't it?
Yeah.
Players get a bit older, they start to sit a bit deeper.
Drop deeper, yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure it's about physicality. Like, you know, this isn't the Pelly Ruddock that we signed this time last year, is it? This isn't a guy who can't get around the pitch. Like remember his first few appearances, you're like, yeah, this guy's a little way off. Like he's had a full preseason behind him. I get at times he looks a little bit, how do we say, meandering. I think what it is it is when he plays a little bit higher up, it just takes a bit of pressure off his decision making. Because when he's playing a bit deeper, there is quite a lot of responsibility to use the ball correctly in certain situations, and particularly, I think pretty much for all the appearances that he's made this season so far, that's been something that's let him down, to be honest. And I say that as, I think, the official pod Pelly Ruddock fan.
No way.
If I could pick that out, I'm pretty sure quite a lot of other people will as well, that at times his decision making is maybe not so good on the ball. And I think if he's a little bit higher up, not that it's not important, but it's more just like, it's not as consequential if you give the ball away or something. Like, you've got another, like you've always got people behind you who can, you know, kind of help out. I'm not sure. Like I say, I'm not sure that's his game. Like, you know, I think for the reported wage that he might be on, I think people would expect like a Wes Hoolahan sort of type. And if he's playing in that role, then inevitably he's going to get judged a bit more on assists, goals, things like that. But yeah, I think I'd put it less down to physicality and more down to just a bit more freedom, I think, and the pitch.
Maybe I was thinking, Casper, that like we speak a lot about the partnership in there with Pelly and Ball is what we ended up with in the second half, because, well, they are the only two fit centre mids at the football club now. And I think that was a bit of a game-changing moment in a way, wasn't it, McLaughlin? I'm going to ask this and it's going to sound negative, but I think this is the angle from which to approach it, which is what the discussion actually was at half-time, which was being negative. Would it be fair to say that we do have so much work still to do if a player who we released 2 months ago getting injured in the first half of a game, again, in the second game of the season against a fellow promoted team, impacts us as much as it did? And I don't want to say we fell apart afterwards, but it did change.
No, it's exactly what we were saying at the game, wasn't it? It's like, if you'd have told me at the start of July, like after the release retained list came out and McLaughlin's gone, that we'd be like ruining him going off injured in the second game of the season. In August, I'd have been like, what's going on? What's going on here? Something's gone wrong here.
So many questions.
Honestly, I mean, McLaughlin played well. The thing, it's almost bigger than McLaughlin. It's almost like the role and what it does to Ball and Pelly. Like, Ball also, I thought, had a really good game, and particularly first half looked really good. But it's because the two of them, when they're not camped on each other's toes, trying to sort of do the same job in the same bits of the pitch, they both individually are able to look better. Ball and Pelly, this is. McLaughlin was industrious as well. He was getting around, like, you know you're going to get really good work rate from him, like, as a minimum. Like, he's very busy. You know, whether or not he's going to be able to actually, I guess, make the grade up at League One level, I think is probably still jury out on that. Hopefully he's not injured for too long and we get him back, or we get Hoddle back, or maybe we go and sign 2 centre midfielders, you know, whatever we need to do. But yeah, no, losing McLaughlin, I think it really just because we just didn't really have, there is no like for like replacement for him on the bench at the moment. And it's sort of forced our hand really in the midfield department at that point. There isn't really, you've kind of played all of your cards at that stage. Obviously has to bring Kai on. And there isn't, I don't know, it felt like we were really well set up and really sort of ticking along well in the game, and that just completely disrupted us, messed our shape up completely. Pelly had been doing well, I thought, high up, obviously had to go further back. They're back on each other's toes again, and it just got harder and harder for us, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. It was a big moment in the game. So we go in 0-0, as we just said, very dominant, but maybe definitely without being clinical, but not creating enough high quality chances for the dominance that we had. Second half, I'll start with it like this, Tom. Was it more Bromley getting a grip on the game or us losing control over it for you? Because they did come out a better side second half for sure, but it also felt like we lost a bit of grip on it, a dominance on it.
Am I going to be able to bit of both my way through this as well?
I think you can.
I
think you can. Bit of campaign.
What's going on?
I think there's multiple factors at play here.
Oh no! Might as well get ChatGPT on, mate. Get rid of Tom.
Yeah. I think I think because it's still August and it's still sunny and it's still early days in the season, I'll probably put it a bit more down to Bromley coming into the game a bit more rather than us losing control of it. I think you probably have to accept that whenever you go away from home, the home team is going to have a period in the game where they're on top, or where they have dominance, or where they have a bit more of the ball, or going to assert a bit more pressure. That's just going to happen. It's just how football works. We're unlikely to go anywhere in this division this season and dominate from start until finish, and have pretty much total control of the ball and total control of the game for the whole time. We did in the first half, but so often with these things, half time can change things. Woodman's a good coach; he can get them in there, he can change things up, and they just came into the game. They were stronger in the second half. And for all we're talking about, like as if it was like a total shift in how things were happening. Bromley saw a bit more of the ball, but again, like a bit like we're talking about with ourselves in the first half, they have a bit more of the ball, but I'm not sure they do loads with it. Obviously, the way that Bromley play is that they, it is when they get on top, it is a bit more. There's a lot of pressure on your box. They put a lot of balls in. They're crossing constantly. Like they're always a threat from things like set pieces and long throws and all that sort of thing. But they create a whole load. So it's not like our goal was like went from being, like totally fine and nothing happening at that end of the pitch to being like under constant pressure and Eastwood's having to pull out 5, 6, 7 saves. It wasn't like that. It was just they came into the game a bit more, I think, and it's probably about as simple as that. I think.
Yeah, I think that's completely fair. Let's talk about the goal, lads. We've waited a while to talk about this goal. Casper, take your pick. The pass from Kai, the touch from Knight, is run past the defender or is finished through the legs. Pick your favourite element of it.
Do you know what? I'm going to sound like such a what is it, like a nerdy. It's quite a nerdy thing. I'm going to say. Obviously, his first touch is brilliant. It's his second touch that absolutely makes it. It's his right foot. It's his weaker foot. The second touch. But we know this anyway. The good footballers, really technically good footballers, just take more touches on the ball than not technically good footballers. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'll compare him to Messi. Why not? We did Apre and Kane. You look at Lionel Messi.
Brilliant.
No, but Messi.
Team we're building.
But Messi, where a normal player would take 1 or 2 or 3 touches, Messi will take like 6, right? Tiny touches. They're like little micro touches of the ball. And that second touch from Knight, you go back and watch the video. First touch is brilliant because he pushes it into the perfect spot outside of his foot. It's just ideal. Second touch with his right foot is the reason he's able to get in front of the man. If he doesn't take that touch as well as he does, there's no way he's getting in on goal, in my opinion. So it's like the first touch is obviously good, but the second touch is just like I will say Premiership quality, because it's that then allows him. He's not super fast player, right? He's not mega pacey. It's just that bit of technique is just incredible. And then the finish is ready for him. It's like the finish is good, but he's done all the work by getting himself and his body shape in a perfect position. It's a great pass from Kai. We had a fantastic angle on it as well, because we were literally down the pipe behind it, if you know what I mean. So we could just see him spray it out. Everyone around you screaming, just do it.
Yeah.
I love a goal like that. Honestly, so much fun to watch.
It's quite rare, like everyone shouting, give it Knight. And then he just plays this absolute perfect pass.
Yeah,
not only does he do it, but you
perfect.
just get the absolute like video game pass.
Yeah. It was literally, I mean, to be honest, it's a really well orchestrated goal. At a time where it did feel like we had obviously lost a bit of, I guess, momentum or impetus in the game as well. Like, I think we're going to score a few goals like that this season. That's kind of our plan, right? Is to soak up pressure and sit deep and then hit on the break, use those sort of, Heath and Knight and probably a bit of Kai as well at some point. Obviously, hopefully Stead when he's around, contributing to that as well. But like really hit teams on the break. And we hit those big diagonal balls so well all day. But that was definitely the best one. The touches are great, finish is great. Just a really good moment for us.
I will just say on the first touch, I think you're right about the second one, but watching it back, one thing it feels like with the first touch, the left back is convinced he's not going to take the touch in his stride like that. I think he's waiting for him to stop it dead or to like come inside a little bit.
So many other players will let that bounce.
Yeah.
In a foot race off towards the corner flag, and you maybe win a throw. Most players, even in League One, will.
Yeah. And my point is just, I don't think the left back's done much wrong there. I think he's he's done kind of what, like you say, what you'd expect. I think it's the quality of those 2 touches. You almost can't account for them in the way in how smooth they are, and the way he doesn't even break stride with the first one. There's no hesitation on it at all. Tom, what was your favourite element of the goal? Was it the pass?
I loved all of it. I loved watching it about 56 times in the pub after as well.
It's not like you to get fixated on things, mate, with your phone as well.
Well, look, I think it's just brilliant. It's just brilliant. Like Casper talks there, I mean, makes a couple of comparisons. Maybe the Messi one might be a little bit far at this point.
I'm having it, mate. Why not?
But it is such a high quality goal. Like it wouldn't look out of place in the Championship, Premier League, whatever. Like the pass from Kai is absolutely brilliant. I think I don't really want to say that that's my favourite bit, but I think it probably is. I think
that's fine to say it is.
Yeah, but it should be Ben Knight, shouldn't it? Sure. It should be Ben Knight doing something like scoring or taking it down as well as he did. But I think the pass is just immaculate from Kai. And then the touch from Knight, I mean, it's kind of like we obviously know how good he is. We obviously know like the quality that he's got. So I don't want to say that I wasn't surprised by it, but it was really good. And we were saying just after, like something sort of similar-ish to what Casper was saying there about him taking maybe a few more touches. I think he's one of these players who he seems to get quicker when he has the ball at his feet, which is such an interesting trait. But yeah, really good. I mean, the finish is so calm as well. I mean, do you know what? I think he actually had like an almost identical chance to that last season at Bromley, where he went through on goal. I think it was in the first half.
Yeah,
and just couldn't quite finish as well. And maybe that's a sign of the progress that he's made in the last few months, is that now he's calmer in those situations. And yeah, first touch is brilliant, second touch is even better, and then to get out his feet and be able to just slot it past the keeper is really good. And at that point, you're thinking, here we go.
With that one at Bromley, am I misremembering like the one last year that he tried to like chip it over the keeper? He tried to wide.
It just felt like he maybe overthought it or didn't like wasn't just quite calm enough or whatever. And it's a really similar situation. He basically, because of the quality of his touch, he basically ends up being through on goal. Which was the same thing that happened last season. Last season he didn't score, and this season he did. So happy days.
Hopefully he'll convert a few pens as well in the crucial moments of seasons later on. Anyway, so we score on 67, and then 6 minutes later, a substitution to talk about. I've got to give this one to you, Tom, because of a lot of the chat this summer. Neil Harris brings on Paddy Bower and Shane Lavery, to be fair. Did it feel to you like we sat back too quickly after the goal? After going ahead for your liking, considering the fact that the man Harris has said to us, be very clear about what he thought about this very thing happening in a very high-profile game this summer.
Yeah. Even at the time, like it's very easy to say this with the benefit of hindsight, but even at the time, people were like, didn't he slag off Tuchel for doing something quite similar against Argentina? Yeah, I think it was early. I think it was really early. I suppose you can make the argument that he's responding to Bromley's changes, because we go ahead 67th minute, Bromley then make a couple of subs on 72, then we make our subs on 73. So, there is that. But this will be a theme of, I guess, as we talk about the end to the game and obviously how it ended up panning out. Our subs just made us worse, I think. Like whether in terms of shape, whether in terms of how we controlled the game or didn't control the game following going ahead, or just in terms of quality of the people coming on. Every sub we made, I think, like basically just made us look a worse side and limited what we could do in the game, which is quite critical, I think. And I think for the most part, obviously, I think we all would back Harris as our biggest asset this season, regardless of any of the players, regardless of anything like that. But I do think that switching so quickly after going ahead did just change the sort of flavour of the game almost, if that makes sense. Because from the point that you shut up shop and you go, right, we're bringing on Bauer, bring on this massive centre half, and we're going to bring on a few more legs up front, it just becomes attack against defence, frankly, and that's how you know it's going to look. And I think against a team like Bromley, it's 73 minutes. There's obviously 5 added on, so we're talking just over 20 minutes still to go. They're going to have an opening. They're going to create a chance. They will, and you don't want to leave it to chance of do they take it or do they not. But that's fundamentally what we did. So for me, yeah, it's too early. Obviously, I guess it's worth noting. I think Knight had to come off. And obviously Apre, is obviously spent, because of our lack of availability of other forwards, or lack of availability of actual minutes from other forwards. He's had to run himself into the ground in each game that we played so far, and obviously did exactly the same at Bromley. Fair credit to him for that. So obviously he has to come off and Lavery has to come on. So there's probably a little bit of like responding to Bromley. There's probably a little bit of, tired legs, which sounds bad in the second game of the season, but that's where we're at with the players available. But for me, it was just bad optics at the time, and it didn't feel great to see Bauer coming on. And that's no disrespect necessarily to Bauer, who actually thought in certain moments did pretty well.
It's not even the Bauer thing for me. It's bringing Lavery on and then having no thought process or plan to actually get him the ball.
We've said this so many times.
In any usable, so it was a mistake to bring Lavery on. I wanted him on before we got the goal, but as soon as we got the goal, I was like, don't bring him on because, their centre back, I think, is the tallest man on earth. He's enormous and next to Lavery. So ridiculous, but how many times after we'd scored before they scored did Eastwood just smash the ball straight through to their keeper, just straight off the side of the pitch? And that's not all Lavery's
I'll tell you how many
fault.
times. It was absolutely loads.
Yeah, it was fucking loads. And that's not strictly about Eastwood, but he does obviously need to think about that. It's just the whole thought process had gone out the window of we'd have been better with Bauer up top. Sound ridiculous. You know what I mean? We'd be better sticking Paddy Bauer up top.
You're absolutely right. Because I was just going to say, if you look at the options, right? So let's just assume, because Knight had, I think it was cramp, but hopefully it's
crampy, but he looked a bit hobbly. It looked like he looked
a bit, yeah.
You just want to wrap him up, right? You've got to look after him. Yeah. So fine.
It makes a bit of sense with the physical nature of the way the game's going to end anyway. I don't mind. Let's just take that Knight's got to come off in this moment. The options he's got are Paddy Bauer, Shane Lavery, Glenn McConnell, Bradshaw, or Afobe. And let's just remove Afobe. When you look at the four, I think a lot of this has got to do with, the first point I wanted to make is that I just don't think Harris has got the options to manoeuvre situations. I don't think he's got the options to do anything different, really, if I'm being honest. If Knight's got to come off.
There's not a lot you can do. There's not
what else can he do?
There's not a big pack to shuffle there. I mean, Afobe is big, but obviously he's also just turned 17.
17, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So,
your point is also valid because I guess I'm defending Bauer coming on for Knight, but your point is right as well. Why bring Lavery on and then just keep pumping the ball up to 6'7"?
We simply had to find a way to be. I don't know if it's courageousness or what it is, or attacking intent, but we created so much pressure for ourselves by basically. It's not even just Bauer, as I say. It's just having Lavery out there, but just firing the ball vaguely at him and asking him to make something out of it, which is totally unrealistic. I mean, Apre would have struggled in the same way with that sort of service as it degraded in the second half, I guess. I just want to see us carry the game plan from the first half and just keep get Heath running with the ball, get Knight before he went off, get him running with the ball, try and put it on them. I'm not saying go and try and get the second goal and run them over. Just saying have the ball, be a bit more, look after the ball a little bit more, try and move the ball up the pitch a bit more.
Is the problem then that the profile we lacked so clearly is someone like that, someone who's happy to have the ball at their feet, someone to run the tempo, someone to, do you know what I mean, to guide possession through the thirds? That's the profile we maybe miss in amongst Ball and Pelly and
I just think they've got a lot of work to do in the next 8 days or whatever it is we've got left. And that's not an indictment of any of the players we've signed so far. I just think we've signed well. We just need to do more of it, right? We've signed really. I don't think I'm really happy with all the players we've signed and how they're sort of meshing into the squad. There's obviously more time to go, and we've got to see how certain players pan out. I think we need 3, 4, even 5 more bodies in the building. Genuinely, whether that's loans, perm. The later we get in the window, I guess we need to be a bit more pragmatic. You don't just simply want to get players for getting players' sake, but starting to reach a point now where it's even before that Huddersfield game next Saturday, we've got to see a bit of movement. Centre midfield now has become we're on red alert centre midfield. Yeah. We're actually genuinely running out of personnel. How many teenagers are we going to have on the bench on Saturday if we don't sort this out? League Cup on Tuesday. There's nothing to rotate. It's not going to be able to rotate the squad. So we're going to have to expose probably Apre to more football that you sort of want to give these guys a bit of a breather, give them a bit of a break. we're just simply not going to be able to do that on Tuesday. And I think that's a bit of a shame because whilst we're sort of doing all right now, we're getting the points return, and they obviously will sign some people. If we don't do that well enough, we're a couple of injuries away from a really bad situation. I think it's sort of September, October time. So I'm sure they'll do it, but we're starting to hit that point in the window, aren't we, where we want to see it happening as soon as possible, really.
And I guess that kind of comes back to your frustration at the top of the pod that, like, I think with a couple of those bodies in an ideal world, which I'm sure they would, Bonner and Harris and everyone would want this world, that a couple of weeks ago, if we've gone and signed those players, yesterday could turn into a very different situation because we could on to things.
It's 2 games in a row. It's 2 games in a row, isn't it? Where we said like Wigan came back into the game because they were able to make subs and change their shape and put it on us. Bromley were able to bring on subs and change the game and put it on us. And like, when's it our turn? Do you know what I mean? When can we do that? Can we do it soon, please?
And Tom, like, we may as well talk about this now because we're on the tangent. But in terms of transfer business, did what happened yesterday, do you think that will affect their plans a little bit? Because I think the 3 signings has been sort of bandied about a lot around the fan base, that's what they're after. But do you think they've got to go and get like more like 4 or 5 in the next, 10 days?
Well, in a weird kind of way, I hope it doesn't change the plans. I was sort of hope that this was planned anyway, to go out and recruit. I think the obvious gap now is centre mid. Like you just need to get a centre mid in. It's kind of like a non-negotiable now. Invest, just make it happen. Because like Caspel says, we're currently the only pairing that we can have in centre mid is Pelly and Ball, and that's what we've talked about time and time again. And then you're talking about like one injury being quite catastrophic, really, for that bit of the pitch. You're not miles away from having like Callum Perry having to fit in there, and then what do you do as centre back, or sorry, left centre back or left back, or like wherever it is he'd be. I'm not sure that we need 4 or 5, to be honest. I'm confident that we won't go and get 4 or 5. I think we're likely to sign 2 or 3. And to be honest, we need to sign another defender. That's arguably as important as a centre mid because, at least for points in games or times during games, or maybe even from the start on certain occasions, we're going to want to play 5 at the back. We've kind of got 6 defenders. That's not enough. It's not sustainable to like continue doing that. And with the greatest respect, one of them is Bradshaw, who obviously doesn't seem to be fancied, to be honest. So, just the quantity of players we've got at the back and the sort of, I guess, to put it bluntly, the quality of players we've got there and the sort of strength and depth is just not enough. So we do need to do something there. And then the other one, I guess, is the sort of top part of the pitch. And I don't know whether it's because maybe it's because like Ahmed's injury is better than it maybe seemed at the time. It felt like he might be out for a few weeks, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Might be back over the next week or 2. I'm not as sort of desperately keen for us to go and get a striker as maybe I might have been. I think I would like us to sign a striker, but I think if you have to sacrifice one, that's maybe the one that, like if you have to not sign a striker to go and sign a really good centre mid or a really good centre back or a right back or something, fine. I can make my peace with that. But I do think we need like an attacking midfield player to come in, either a winger or a 10, depending on where you see Ben Knight playing for the rest of the season. So for me, if we can get 3, if we can do a defender, a centre mid, and an attacking mid, winger, 10, whatever, I'll probably be okay with that. If we can't do that, it is going to make the decision to go and sign another goalkeeper for a fee look quite strange and look quite almost like poor planning, to be honest. But look, I think what a lot of people have sort of pinpointed is that after the cup games, you might start to see a bit more movement because I guess it's at that point where the Premier League and the Championship clubs will start making a call on who isn't going to be involved for the rest of the season. And like you know how it works, it's like a chain, isn't it? Premier League start letting go, Championship start letting go, then League One, then League Two. So and obviously it follows down the pyramid. So I guess it's a far from ideal situation to be sat here, as you guys have quite rightly said, like earlier on, that we're sat here having just played our second game of the season. We're ruining a bloke who we released in May getting injured. It's been like that's genuinely quite damaging for our chances over the next couple of weeks. Clearly, that's not ideal. I don't imagine that's what they would have had in mind at the start of the window, but whether it's poor planning or poor execution, it doesn't really matter too much, to be honest. You just have to go out and recruit people. You have to go and recruit players to give yourself. It's not even depth, is it, that we're talking about, really?
No.
It's not like having like a really good players like 17 to like 21. You're talking about just like, can we just fill a bench full of senior pros? And at the moment, the answer is no. And look, evidently, we've talked about, even just like even like the sort of mid part of the league. You look at like a Posh, a Mansfield, for example. Like they're gonna have players like they're gonna have a bench full of these senior pros, and over the course of a season, like we'll fall short if we're kind of as short as we are, basically.
You don't have to look that high up, mate. You could just look at Bromley's bench and just look at the difference.
Well, that's fine. That's the comparison, though, isn't it? Because like, obviously, we were talking about the decision to go 5 at the back and obviously make the changes when Harris made the changes. And part of that is a criticism of in-game management. And I think that's fair that, obviously made a tactical switch, which I think made us worse. I think contributed to them building up pressure and then eventually scoring a goal and eventually us not winning a game that we look pretty well set to go and win. That's one side of it. The other side of it is like, what can you do? Because like, again, we're sort of talking about Bromley as if they're like a sort of Man City level team who've got like endless riches and stuff. But the reality is they're just bringing on experienced pros, whereas we're bringing on people who aren't experienced or maybe aren't quite up to the level, and maybe could benefit from like a loan out to like League Two or the Conference or something, in like McConnell and Bradshaw in an absolutely ideal world. But they're probably been able to recruit for whatever reason well, and in a lot of areas. And we haven't, and their changes made them better, and ours made us worse. And that's just that's kind of just how it is. So, and that's how it will be as well. I think I really hate sort of writing off games at this stage of the season. I'm not really thinking too much about the cup game in the middle, but I'm looking at Huddersfield and I'm thinking it's probably not a bad time to play one of the top sides in the division in a weird sort of way. Just in that you might go and lose this game anyway, to be honest, because they're just a really good side with really good players and obviously seem to have started well and stuff. You're almost looking at that Burton game, not next week, but the week after, and going like, that's it. That's the probably the first game. I guess you could count Bromley in it, but I think that's the first game against a team that you would go there and you'd be like, we need to win this game. They're going to be a team who are probably going to be in the bottom 4. Like, brilliant result with Leicester for them, of course. The weekend,
just beat Leicester.
But like, look, that for sure. If we're saying that our season is going to come down to like just staying up or whatever, which, is probably a fair result and is probably fair aspirations to have, that's a really important game. Like, you need to be in decent shape by then. You need to have players who can come in and who can actually start by then. Because I think like if we're signing players like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, they're not going to slot straight for Huddersfield, are they? Maybe even not even Bradford on the following Tuesday. But I think you can sort of spin it either way, and there will be differences in opinion about how many we need and what we need and all that sort of stuff. But I think the one thing that will be pretty universally accepted is that we do need to do a reasonable amount of business in the next week or so. Otherwise, we're gonna have more situations like yesterday where you feel like you just can't get a result that you probably should have got, and that's obviously really frustrating and quite damaging.
I don't think 3 would be enough, personally, if you want my opinion, because I think if McLaughlin's done his calf, Harris said after the game, done his calf similar to last year. I'm pretty sure that's 3 months he was out for last year.
You're banking, Tom. I think by saying 3, I mean, I get it. I think it's the reality as well. By the way, that it will be 2 or 3.
Sure.
Like, I think that is the reality, whether we like it or not. But you're banking that. You're majorly banking on this squad staying fit, and don't forget a couple of these guys do not have a good history in this regard. And what's happened instead happens every time. You sign a few injury-prone players, and then the one that isn't injury-prone obviously goes and gets injured straight away.
Because injuries happen.
Because injuries do happen. That's fine. So, and again, it's not, it's kind of beyond our almost remit, but it's like, obviously the club now is spending more money than it ever has before on everything. And we're having to stay up with the mad pace that football seems to be setting in terms of finances. So we can't afford it. It's not like Cambridge United 20 years ago where you're like, God, we can't, we need to be really smart, super smart with the resources, and we need to manage like everything super tightly. It's like, just go get an extra body in the building. So we do have a bench of senior pros. They've got Adebayo on the bench. On he comes and in it goes, Not saying it's that simple, but sometimes it can be that simple, right?
And the double sub, they also managed to bring on Nicky Kabamba, who scored 15, 16 goals last season for them. So like the stock of striking, of attacking options they've got on the bench, obviously they're all fit, which is a big bonus in the sense that we've maybe had a bit of hard luck with Stead's injury, for example. But then also like Ethan Archer, the winger they bring on, who I thought was at the same time as Adebayo, that double sub they made, that Tom's right in saying that Harris is obviously responding to the Bauer sub because it happens 1 minute later. But that's just the options that they've got. And for me, the McLaughlin injury is actually going to be a big thing, because with him and Hoddle, if you just assume they're out for 2 months, or maybe not back up to full speed for 2.5 months, and we will sign another centre mid this week, 100%. But then that's still just Ball, Pelly and another. It just doesn't feel like enough when you talk about we're going to have EFL Trophy games to play as well, and I'm not sure who else are the options that you can play there. We talked about the defenders there, and Tom's right in saying that I think McConnell and Bradshaw should be looking at loans personally, because I'm not saying that I quite like bits of both of their game, but I think if we really want to be ruthless, which is what we talked about when the retained list came out, send those two out on loans, make them better players by playing week in, week out in League Two or the Conference, and try and recruit players that can make an impact this season for us. So for me, it would be more like 5, but I think you're right that it might only be 3, and that's sort of the situation
yeah, I think like I think like you're both fair, and I'm not like disagreeing that maybe like 4 or 5 would be a good thing. And if I'm really honest, I think probably part of this is me like pre-managing my own expectations.
Yeah, making your peace with it type thing.
Yeah, basically, yeah, because I think if you look at it almost kind of like quite cynically, we've been incapable of recruiting these positions since May. Why is that going to change in the next week? I mean, yeah, like I guess teams might start making decisions on who's going to be involved and whatnot, and I get that makes the market move a little bit more. But other clubs have gone out and recruited. Like it's
Bromley, 13 players.
It's still eminently possible. And I just don't think that we're going to go from a situation where we've been light on bodies throughout the entirety of the summer. We've obviously struggled to get players in, and I don't mind it if it's the fact that we're holding out for a similar level of signing to like Heath, for example, or Perry, because they're obviously 2 really good additions. And Casper's right in saying the business that we have done has been pretty good and pretty encouraging. There's not been enough of it, so I don't necessarily mind that. Like, you just want to start filling the squad with anyone, but yeah, I think I would sorely love us to be in a situation where you have, between 18 and 21 ready to go, experienced pros at this level, but I'm kind of making my peace with the fact that's probably quite unlikely to happen. And that's just the way it is, unfortunately.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. I don't think it will be 5. It's just for me, it should be. But anyway, we need to wrap the game up because we've gone on a hell of a tangent here.
Understandably so. God, imagine how this is going to be in 10 days' time.
No,
transfer window shuts and this is it. Oh my God.
Look, spoiler alert, guys. Adebayo just scores the equaliser. It didn't feel like there was like loads and loads of pressure in the moment. Castle I don't want to say it came out of nowhere, because obviously they were chasing the game and putting a lot of balls in the box, but it didn't feel like it was chance after chance after chance type thing.
Yeah, it felt like we were dealing with it, right?
Yeah, it didn't feel like imminent is how I'd describe it. And then the ball kind of like, it's the second ball, he has a bit of space somewhere between the 6-yard box and the edge of the box, or a bit more towards the edge of the box, to be fair to him. I don't know. I think looking back, are you blaming Eastwood? I think it might just be quite a good finish, to be honest, and it comes through quite a lot of bodies.
Yeah, obviously we were side on, so we didn't have a great angle. It just didn't look at the time like it had gone right in the top corner, but it basically does. It's actually just a really good finish. I think there's a foul. I think there's a foul on Lavery in the build-up. Big time. Lavery just gets 2 hands in the back, pushed over completely. Just Lino's right there looking at all this stuff, and the refereeing, I'd say, was just very inconsistent, so don't understand half the decisions. I was sort of slightly confused by, just because it was like 10 minutes ago that was a foul, but now it isn't, like, or you're counting for the throw-ins now, but then you've stopped counting for them. Like, it seemed a really weird sequence of how it was all being done. So I think there's a foul on Lavery in the build-up. I don't think we clear it well, and then I don't think we defend it very well. Like, if a player, he just shouldn't have that much time and space to get a shot away that easily. It shouldn't come off clean and go in the top corner. Like, if it hits someone and squirts in or whatever, because someone's like body on the line and it just ends up bundling in the net, you're like, all right, you know what I mean? But it's just, it's definitely not Eastwood. The only thing I'll say for Eastwood, apart from the kicking, which obviously we spoke about, it's just there's quite a few crosses that seem to be coming around the 6-yard box area that he was not coming and dealing with. And that, I think, was also just building a bit of pressure on us. I just want to see him coming and claiming a little bit more, basically. Coming and kind of dominating his 6-yard box a little bit more. But I don't think that was a contribution in the goal specifically.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it is worth just reiterating that kicking thing, which was something even last week against Wigan that was particularly notable. A couple of the ones from the deck that just went directly out of play, like no chance of anyone getting anywhere near him, which is obviously frustrating. Let's mention the referee because it was a topic of conversation. We don't do a lot of ref chat on here, to be fair, Tom, but a bit of confusion on full time when it looked like she'd stopped the game 20 seconds early, according to the clock on the scoreboard that we could see. There was a lot of chat about the referee in general. What did you think? A couple of half penalty shouts first half, maybe worth touching on. But in general, do you think there's anything that impacted the game?
I just thought generally throughout the game, the refereeing performance was not good at all. I think, the stoppage time thing was really weird, wasn't it? Because the clock on the actual scoreboard had not ticked over to 95 yet, but obviously it was 5 minutes added on, and we had a throw in a very, very presentable situation. And again, it's like one of those, I think, Casper, I think you were talking about it was like years ago, after we got one of the times we got battered by Posh, where it's like you win a throw in that situation, having done very little with a more game, but because it's like later on, you're like, come on, like we're definitely going to score from this. There's like,
I think it was the Brophy smoke bomb one when we were absolute garbage at Steve. We'd basically not had a shot on target in the entire game, and then everyone was convinced that Brophy's crossed the halfway line and the game's got stopped. We're like bound to score any second now. The only thing I'm going to say for the clock is that I'm just pretty convinced the scoreboard was wrong.
She was
probably right. So
but that had to be what happened because the players were just so not fussed about it. There was no complaining from anyone, manager, and so
no, it was fine. And like to be fair, we did bump into a friend of ours outside the ground afterwards who'd been timing stoppage time on his phone, and he confirmed that it had gone over the 5 minutes.
So people out there, aren't they?
The only thing is though that I think Eastwood, when he was like when the full time whistle went and he like clapped around the away fans, but I think most of the away end was fuming at the fact that we thought that the game had ended 20 seconds early. I think it might have looked like we were like angry at Eastwood, if you know what I mean. If he hadn't clocked what was going on, it looks like everyone's having a right pop at him. Which
I think just generally with like the refereeing though, like the it's a bit of a weird one because like there weren't any decisions that she'd made that like directly contributed to something happening. It wasn't like she gave like a really dodgy penalty or a red card or anything like that. They're like serious things that damaged the game. But I just felt like there were so many obvious fouls just not given. And I know that they're trying to let things go maybe a little bit more. Like you obviously watched like the World Cup during the summer, and there's an obvious directive to like try and just let games flow a little bit more, not break them up with so many fouls. But there is a point where you're watching the games and you're like, well, like they're just making more fouls than aren't they? Because they know they can get away with it, and maybe it's a good thing. Maybe in like a few years it might lead to like more open flowing games. But I just think when you go from one extreme to the other, where referees are on it and they're giving fouls away left, right, and centre, and then you have a situation like yesterday where it just feels like a lot is being let go and a lot that shouldn't be let go has been let go. It's a really frustrating one to watch. It's quite a hard circle to square, I guess. But a poor afternoon for the officials, I think. And to be fair, absolutely stitched up by Bromley's scoreboard because that was it's just like the last thing you need when you had a questionable performance all day, and then Bromley are telling fans that the game's not finished yet, despite having blown the full-time whistle. But yeah, it is what it is. I guess you have to move on to the next one. You have to play to the whistle, don't you?
It is what it is, isn't it? And it finishes 1-1, and we'll see in a few weeks what that 1-1 looks like. I think it might be an interesting one to kind of look back on, given Huddersfield, Bradford, Burton, the first two. I mean, Bradford we hadn't even mentioned here. Of course, we'll talk about it next week, but Bradford away, Bradford being the only side to have with 100% record so far in the league. Won at Sheffield Wednesday the other night as well. They look like they've started the season really well. So couple of tough games coming up, but we'll talk about them on preview show on Friday morning. Before that, we've got Millwall on Tuesday. Let's end the pod by having a quick chat about this, Casper. I mean, how much appetite have you got for this game? And how do you want to see us approach it? What options have we got?
It's just a headache, isn't it? It's just a proper headache of a game. Obviously, I want us to do as well as we can in all the competitions, but the best thing for us would have been to have exited the competition already and not have this game, I think.
Yeah.
I am going to watch it. I'm going to go, but I'm going to have my head in my hands most of the time, I think, because you're going to be watching like combinations of Appere, Lavery. Like it's just nightmare all over the pitch. I don't want any of them on the pitch. Pretty much, whatever the starting 11 is, I kind of want none of them out there. So, yeah, it's going to be really interesting, isn't it?
And we're playing a side who finished third in the championship last year. By the way.
Yeah. I couldn't. Yeah, I mean, Harris even talked about it in his post match, was just saying, "Oh, look, we're just going to go and enjoy it," which is code for just relax. You know what I mean? Like, just we're not taking it too seriously, basically. Which is a shame because you almost, it would be nice in an alternate universe that we've got our transfer business done in a way where you feel like we can actually give it a go. And it feels like we can't and we shouldn't, so we won't.
Yeah.
Do go to the game though, get your tickets, it's gonna be a good night, I'm sure.
It's really nice,
I'll bring my boots. I've got my boots. Just get me on the bench. Come on.
It sounds like just what we need.
That'll do it. Yeah, let's do that.
I'll run around a lot.
Yeah,
we were having a great chat on the obviously we spent our Friday at the cricket together as well. We had a brilliant chat that all this talk about it's really hard to recruit players because of house prices in Cambridge. Like, can we just buy a house? Like
a record signing being a house.
Record signing is a four bed house.
I don't know. I think the League Cup's a really frustrating one, isn't it? Because the games feel like they're so inconveniently positioned within the actual within the season, right at the start, right when the squads are still getting together and stuff. And it feels kind of quite big time to be actually, I'd rather we went out this cup, just focus on the league. But it's also a competition where basically like we saw last season, you can quite quickly get a very decent draw. If you get to the second round, obviously which we're in, especially the third round. So I guess as Castle didn't do such a good job of selling the occasion.
Sorry, yeah. It's not my job, is it?
I'll give it a go, and I'll say that there is a serious carrot there if we can win. A potentially big draw in the third round. I realise that's not really a sell of the second round itself, is it? But
yeah.
Look, I can only work with what I've got.
What sort of team do you think will actually play? What do you think he'll do?
Because it's going to be identical. It's going to be identical to what played against Bromley, probably.
McConnell will start, surely, and Bradshaw.
McConnell will start. Bradshaw will start, I think.
Sorry, what I mean is we can't make wholesale changes. And I think you would love that team sheet to come out and it's we've made 7 changes, and we might get beat. I mean, for what it's worth, I expect Millwall will probably do exactly the same. If we're talking about focusing on the league, they'll certainly focus on the league. The carrot for them is obviously going one better this time than they were able to last season. So I'm not sure this game will have any importance to them or much interest for them. Beyond maybe getting minutes into players who might not get them during the league games, but for us, we just can't make that many changes. You're right, McConnell will may or may not come in, maybe Bradshaw as well. Who knows? But that realistically is the limit to which we can actually change the squad and rotate.
It'll be a bit more. It'll be a bit more than that. I think the entire bench, apart from Afobe, will start. Do you think
Kai starts because he's obviously had difficulty of injury himself throughout pre-season?
I think he'll start.
I don't think he'll start.
No, I think he'll start Lavery and Kai.
Yeah,
genuinely.
Maybe.
You're going to see Lavery start in that game and you're going to be like, fuck, what's going on?
If Afobe will play in the football match and people like Hurd will be on the bench and
McDougall or whatever. Yeah, that is realistically what I'm expecting. Whatever pack you have to shuffle, you shuffle it as best you can. You'll see one of the, we would have seen Gabe Breeze, but I think he's still not quite fit. So you'll see probably Hughes, I guess, in goal.
I'll do it. Stick him up top.
Stick him up top. How many keepers?
We should go with Bauer up top. We should really test that.
I quite like that theory. I think that's good. I think there's something in that. Test it. The second game of the season, we're talking about playing our big
I was going to say,
up top. Jesus Christ.
We obviously talk a lot about optics on this pod. Bad optics, good optics, whatever. I would put it to you that it's quite bad optics of the 23rd of August as we record, 24th of August as you're listening to this, to be having a sort of semi-serious conversation about should we try having Patrick Bauer up front. That feels quite bad. It doesn't feel like the ideal situation, but it is what it is.
It's also worth mentioning that full time yesterday with the squad when they came over to clap the players was McElhenney. I can't remember his first name. Liam McElhenney, who was he was with the the squad in Spain. He played a couple of friendlies. He might have played the Northampton one, did he?
Northampton, he did. He looked good. Yeah. He looked decent.
Yeah, and he played the Preston one as well. And he's still with the squad now, a month later. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe tomorrow, like today, as you're listening to it on Monday, that just gets announced, and then there's one that could slot straight in, for example. But I don't know how much else moves before Tuesday, especially in time to start. So I guess, like you say, you shuffle the pack as much as you can and then hope for the best. Fingers crossed that Lavery doesn't pull up with a hamstring injury.
Oh, honestly, mate, you just see it coming a mile off. You can just see something like that coming a mile off. I think it'll be Don Ball. I don't know why.
Oh, God. Because that's the thing I was going to say. Like we've got one right back in the team, so Liam Bennett's going to play, and we've got 2 centre mids in the team. So there's 3. Well, I guess Hughes could play in goal, actually, to be fair. I was going to say.
A team that basically picks itself within reason, if you know what I mean. Yeah, pretty much.
Anyway, we shall see. It's going to be a thrilling night, as Casper's just sold to you there. I can't wait. Can't wait to watch every minute of it. Tom, thanks very much for joining today.
That's all right. No problems at all. We go again.
You sat on the fence very nicely for the point game 2 dropped. Casper, you were a bit more. You were decisive. So thanks for that.
Oh, you're welcome, mate. Always.